Welcome to the Leadership Window podcast with Dr. Patrick Jinks. Each week, through a social sector lens, Patrick interviews leaders and experts and puts us in touch with trends and tips for leading effectively. Patrick is a board-certified executive coach, a member of the Forbes Coaches Council, a best-selling author, award-winning photographer, and a professional speaker. And now, here's Dr. Patrick Jinks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 136 of the Leadership Window. Glad you're here. Got a really great guest. And for some reason, and I don't know, maybe this kind of comes in waves. You know, our last episode was with Scott Mounts talking about the mentally strong leader and his book, The Mentally Strong Leader. And we talked about mental strength and his framework for that and how it ties in with emotional intelligence, but that it's not quite the same as emotional intelligence. Our guest today is going to hit yet another dimension of this, which is resilience. We're going to talk a little bit about resilience. He is known as the Resilience Coach. In fact, that is his website, theresiliencecoach.co.uk. That's right. He comes to us from the UK. He's based there in Yorkshire. His name is Russell Harvey. And he is, of course, a resilience coach. He's a facilitator. He's a public speaker and podcaster and program creator, really helping individuals since around 2012, helping both individuals and teams build resilience. And that's a term you've heard a lot on this show. And, I've got a philosophy around it and some additional questions as I continue to learn more about the term. But Russell has a goal here that's actually on his website, and I'm intrigued by it. And so, Russell, when you clean up my introductory mess and tell us what we really need to know about you, I'm also going to ask you to tell us a little bit about this goal to positively affect 100,000 people by the year 2025, which of course we're now in. And the website at the time, at least, I'm sure it's updated now by, you're about to positively affect more people through this episode, but you were around 77,000 or so at this point in time. So yeah, tell us a little more about yourself. How did you come into this work, and tell us about where this goal comes from?
Thank you, Patrick. Really nice to be here. Thank you. So right this second, as of this morning, and I only managed to add a few more to do it, it's 82,315-ish.
Wow.
Essentially, it's the case.
And how do you count that? Like, what are you counting when you like, what is a positively affected life? Define that.
Yeah. And so that's where a lot of who I am and what I want to do comes from. So my desire is to be a resilience role model and be authentic and actually apply to myself all the things that I talk about. But the positively effect is that this is absolutely nothing to do with my ego, Patrick, I promise. Okay. I'm not arrogant enough to think that everybody I meet, loves and adores me. That's just not the case. But it's my intention is that with everybody I interact with, I want given the opportunity to have a light bulb moment, a realization moment, an aha moment, essentially around, do you know what? I can put that into practice. Or they go from confused face or like frowny face or unhappy face, so they go to relaxed face, or, oh, right, so I can go away from it a day and implement, right, I can make my life better. Okay. And so it's essentially get out of bed every day seeing how I can do that.
Wow.
I love it.
Purpose. So what I'm curious though, what constitutes a check mark? Like when do you say I'm going to add to the number? What constitutes an addition to the number?
Yeah, so some of it is a little bit finger in the air of like, so I actually can't remember exactly how many years ago this started as the purpose, but I have individual clients. I facilitate sessions to large groups of people, and I go on podcasts, and I've got a radio show, and I talk to people, and you get feedback. So from that, of the thousands of things that I've done, just sat down a few times and go, okay, so if we just put something rough to it about how many people have got it, and also when I very first started to say it, because I wanted to be a resilience role model, and I say, you need a purpose. And then somebody said, what's yours, Russell? And I went, oh, heck. I'm not sure I've got one. So that's when I actually created it. And then I was surprised at the number of reactions that I got, and I still get. Some people went, "Oh, get you, you're arrogant." That's why I said, yeah, that was a response. Somebody else, it took me a while to understand what they were saying. Somebody else said, "Add me to the list."
Oh,
And I was
wow.
going, what you on about? And they said, yeah, "Russell, your list, add me to it."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh.
You've positively affected me. Yeah.
It's like and the other bit as well was that somebody else said, "Well, do you know what, Russell? By you positively affecting me, I'm going to go away from here today and I'm going to change my behaviors and I'm going to positively affect somebody else." So, ripple effect.
It's so cool because it doesn't mean, and you didn't say people fall madly in love with you or adore you.
No.
You said you positively affect their life. And that is done in small ways more often than it's done in big ways. I ask my coachees this question a lot. I ask them, when anyone leaves an interaction with you, do they feel taller or smaller?
Yeah, brilliant.
And the other question I ask is, when you walk into a room, do you turn the light on or do you turn it off? Is there an energy you're bringing into the room, or are you sapping it all up and bringing in negative energy? It's little things, it's a smile in the, passing someone in the hallway, or it's a positive word of encouragement, or a card in the mail, or great value because I sat through one of your webinars, or I got some coaching from you. It can be all kinds of things. What a great marker. I love it. I don't know how anybody would interpret that as arrogant, because the ideas you're trying to give.
Well, yes. So I was surprised at the variety of responses I started to get, and it's just like that was one of them. And it was like, okay, fine, no problem with that at all. You think that's arrogant? Okay, all right, it's not my intention, but that's the way that you've taken it. So, so be it.
Yeah, those people are jealous. No, I'm kidding. I don't know what it is. People interpret things differently, but I really appreciate it. How did you come into this work? Why resilience? Where did this come from, originally, do you think?
Yeah, so the introduction was great, by the way. I don't need to add to it. So thank you. You did well. Where all this came from. So there's two things. I've always been absolutely fascinated by human behavior, how we do the things that we do. And then I was part of a round the world trip, travel around the world for a year with my lovely wife. And I was teaching in Hong Kong, and some magic was happening in the room. And at the time, I didn't know what the magic was. I was just going, there's something wonderful going on here. I think I want to do this for a living, but I'm not sure what it is. When I came back from the UK, it was like I'd worked out it was people learning, having their light bulb moments. So this was in 1997, having their light bulb moments. I thought, I want to do this for a living, but I don't want to be a teacher in a school. That blueprint in my head just wasn't it for me. And at the time, I'll go back to the recruitment agencies in the UK and go, I think I want to be a business trainer. I think the job title is business trainer. And they'll go, well, what do you know and what you're qualified in? And I went, well, nothing and out. I just know I want to do it. So there became my career. So whilst taking a sales job, coming back from traveling, I went to night school and did, certificate in training practice. And then so a whole career in learning and development. And essentially I'm a facilitator and a coach. And my last permanent role was at the Co-op Group in Manchester in the UK. And not long after I joined it, this is roughly, timeline-wise, about 15-ish years ago, everything fell on everybody's heads. The business was in phenomenally difficult financial trouble, and all of my clientele were me and a whole team of others, the senior leaders. Literally everybody came to me with their head in their hands and went, the world's full on our heads. And I went, yeah, I've been looking into this word resilience, and I've been looking at this an acronym of VUCA, and literally all of our answers are in there. And so when I knew that at some stage I might leave the co-op because it's going through so much change, redundancies, bringing people in, and my time might come, and it did. And it was that moment I go, do you know what? I feel right and ready to go off by myself. And I set up the resilience coach. And then when it came time to do my purpose, I linked 1997 to purpose, to light bulb, to positively affect to resilience. That's how I came to where I am today.
I'll tell you what I relate to on that resonates with me is, the idea that you're not an expert in any sort of necessary field of business, but you're an expert at training, and that's where your gift lies. And that's what I've loved about coaching. I have to really tell my prospective clients when they call and want strategic planning, for example. I do strategic planning in the nonprofit sector, but I'm not an expert in housing and homelessness, or in early childhood education, or in public health, or in the arts, or whatever it is. What I'm an expert at is synthesis, at facilitating, holding space, asking the right questions, framing, helping teams bring their best thought and get it out and get it clear, their aspirations, their goals, their challenges, their solutions. And so it doesn't matter the sector. I'm coaching people in the pharmaceutical, field. I'm coaching people in the manufacturing field. I'm coaching people in conservation, and I'm not an expert in any of those things. But your gift is training. And does that come from childhood? Did you always like to explain things, or did you like to be on a stage where you're in front of people? I mean, is that part of where you think the deeper thing comes from?
Well, interestingly, I do talk about facilitation rather than training. But pedantic, so just splitting hairs. But actually, part of my growing up as a child is that I was in an amateur dramatic society. So I'm okay being on stage. So that is not necessarily quite answering your question, but that interests me.
No, it absolutely is. And I asked because, again, I'm relating to a lot of it. I grew up in a gospel singing family. We were on stage. I've been on stage since I was, and when I say on stage, I mean, there's somebody is expecting some sort of performance from me, even if it's, again, a training or a webinar or a coaching session. I consider that to be. And so I'm finding more and more trainers, facilitators, coaches who really are comfortable in that spot. And it's not that I want to be in the limelight. It's just I'm comfortable in that spot, and not everybody is. So it's a gift.
No, it is it's most definitely a level of comfortableness. Yes. So there's a few times that my dad would ask me, so just tell me again, a bit what you do. And then sometimes I say, well, today I'm here in front of these people doing this, or I'm doing a speech like that, or I'm running a session with these guys and I'll be stood up doing this. And he just goes, that just makes me feel sick. He, bless him, twice he was asked to be a best man by two friends and had to pull out twice because it just,
because he couldn't give the best man speech at the reception.
So he couldn't do it. Essentially. I've done it twice.
Wow.
So there we go. So it's always interested me. There's some times where I've been stood up in front of a group of people and my brain is going, everybody's looking at you, Russell. And my brain's going, why are they all looking at me? And I go, oh, golly, because you're stood up and they're expecting you to do something.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yes, okay, I'm running this session. Right, okay.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm comfortable stood up there.
That's awesome, because people look for that. Somebody has to fill the gap. There can't be a vacuum. And people look around, they go, oh, Russell's got this. Russell, let's listen to Russell. That's awesome. I want to get into the term resilience. You and I talked a little bit about this offline. I think you define it a little more deeply and quite frankly, in a way that resonates more with me than a lot of people around the term and how they define it. But let me just ask you, how are you defining resilience? To coach people on resilience, what are we even talking about?
So what we are talking about, Patrick, is springing forward with learning. So just say it again for everybody, springing forward with learning. That for me, when somebody's being a resilience role model, they are doing that essentially. So they're making the decision and the choice as part of their lives to engage with their learning around their resilience. So the learning and the reflection is against this thing called the resilience wheel that I have, which is a build a load of loads of research. So you are reflecting and learning and re-energizing against your personal wheel. There's 7 aspects to it, and I'm sure we will talk about them shortly. But it's an actionable thing that you make the decision and choice to pause from all of life's events, whether good or not so good, and make the decision to pause, which is listening to a podcast, which is going for a walk, which is having a great conversation with a friend, which is reading a book, which is going to, the cinema. They're all pauses. And in those pauses, you're finding ways to restore yourself, recuperate, re-energize, and reflect. And the 3 questions that you ask yourself when you are pausing, reflecting are, what have I been doing behaviorally recently that has been serving me well? What have I been doing behaviorally recently that has not been serving me well? And how do I do more of the answers to the first question, essentially? So it's a choice. It's proactive resilience, Patrick, is how I want people to think of it. I'm not a fan of the term bounce back because we can't go back. It's like, how would you like to move forward in your life? And when the individuals do that, then they get into thrive rather than staying in coping and surviving.
It's back to our favorite quote that it seems to show up on this show almost every time. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus: a man cannot step into the same river twice because he's not the same man and it's not the same river. You can't. Everything has changed in the last 5 seconds. Everything has changed. And what I love about what you just said is that resilience is a choice. It's not a natural thing that some people have and some people don't. Not based on the description you just gave. It's a choice, and I like that. It's empowering. But a lot of people don't know they have that choice, I think, right?
No, they don't. So I know we are born with what we're born with. We will have a level of resilience. That there's different pieces of research about how you can grow resilience even if you have a challenging upbringing, which I'll come back to in a second. But I just unfortunately, people don't necessarily engage with this word resilience until something really unpleasant happens to them. And I'm of the view of like, well, why wait for the unpleasant thing to happen? Why don't you make the choice now to go, right then, I'm going to proactively choose to develop my resilience. And the benefits of that are exponential. But one of the many benefits is like how you might actually view an unpleasant experience will be very different to if you hadn't done anything about it.
See now, okay, now we're in it. that
I can see
hit
your
me.
Face in brain is
that hit
off.
me. Well, because the word when I think of the word I think just the regular word resilience, it connotes a bounce back, and bounce back not meaning I go backwards, but it means I recover to my original state. Like I was doing okay. A bad thing happened and I bounced back, meaning I'm back to where I was. And you're talking about go beyond where you were.
Yes.
And not despite the challenge, but because of the challenge.
Yeah.
And so I really like that, but because the term resilience, the prefix is re. So it's like, it's like a reimagining, a resetting. But you're talking about in a preventative or a proactive way where I'm developing an armor of resilience.
This is it
for future to be able to withstand the challenges that are going to come in our lives. Right. That's just
this is it.
I love that framing.
And I don't think it won't necessarily translate to the United States, but there's an old advert. So there was a product, I think it's still around, called Ready Brek, which is like porridge. Okay. But the TV advert, probably from the 1980s, 1990s, was that there was a kid that was eating their porridge and going on their way to school. But as they were eating this porridge, they suddenly got this orange glow of an armor around them. Oh. And then they went open their front door, and it was raining and it was miserable, but they were walking through all of this with this orange glow protecting them. So that's the analogy. When you build and grow your resilience, you absolutely, you are building an armor of how you're going to face into the world.
So I want to share something and get your take on it. When I say you define resilience differently than most people, I have found that you are defining resilience the way Nassim Nicholas Taleb defines anti-fragile.
Okay.
So he talks about, and this is he wrote, I think the book he wrote a book called Anti-Fragile, Things That Gain from Disorder was the subtitle to it. Yeah. And the idea was that there's a mostly philosophical but somewhat scientific concept of fragility, which is I'm weak. I don't have what it takes to bounce back or spring forward. I've got a weakness, or I'm vulnerable. And he says that resilience is often what people think is the opposite of that, but it's not. It's anti-fragility, which is you don't, again, just like you're saying, you don't just bounce back, you spring forward to an even greater place. And there's a couple things he says. I just want to get your reaction to this. I love this. Taleb says, fragility breaks under pressure. Resilience resists pressure. Anti-fragility thrives under pressure.
Yeah.
And he says, wind extinguishes a candle, but it energizes a fire.
Yeah.
And so I'm affirming your definition of resilience is actually more in line with his definition of anti-fragility, because you're trying to get people to be the fire and not just a candle.
Absolutely, yes. Because what most definitely, because what concerns me at the moment when we talk about this word resilient, there's a few things that concern me. One of them is it seems to go into toxic resilience and toxic positivity, which really, really concerns me. So what I mean by that is,
what does that mean?
Yeah. So what I've noticed that there's a little too much of that. Somebody will say any variation of, like, I'm struggling, or this, I don't think this is right, or this is a bit challenging, or this is difficult, or poof, this is a big problem. And then literally, people can't see it now, but I'm doing a pointy finger action. People then suddenly, you just need to be resilient. You just need to be positive. Okay. And that drives me mad. Patrick, it does. It's like, that's not where I'm coming from. So yeah, that was one thing. What was your,
like in other words, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thriving under the pressure is, so the other thing is people feel that they are only being resilient when they stay in surviving and coping. Okay, that's another thing that people seem to sort of say of, like, I'm just keeping going. I'm being resilient. I go, no. And I'm going,
you're just barely hanging on.
You're just barely hanging on.
Or you're stuck in it. Oh, that's so good.
And it's really challenging to, whilst people are struggling, I want to say as the coach or the whatever, to say, just come over here. You need to chat. Come over here. We need to get you off your hamster wheel or off your pain point, and we need to just engage with you to just enable you to just build a bit of resilience, so that you can make a choice about, are you even going to get back on the hamster wheel, or actually you're going to just walk around it, or what else are you going to do? So people sort of say, I'm facing into challenges, I'm keeping going, I'm hanging on, I'm being resilient. Don't talk to me about resilient, because I'm being it. And I'm going, how do I find a way to engage with you right now, because I believe you need some help.
I'll tell you what it makes me think of is the age old, how does that make you feel question? Like, I'm being resilient, and how's it working out for you? Right. How is that, talk to me about the forward movement that's bringing you.
And that goes all the way back to, the individual that chooses to engage with their resilience, what behaviors am I doing right now that are helping me, and what behaviors am I doing right now that are harming me? So the individual that's just keeping going, I'm concerned that the behaviors that they're doing are harming them because it's in their comfort zone, and zone is not always comfortable.
Yeah,
It's
right.
painful, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you do have a framework. You referenced it a moment ago, a framework that you call the resilience wheel. So
yes,
moving from the hamster wheel to the resilience wheel.
absolutely.
But maybe this is a good time for you just to refer to the model and the framework. But my question for you then is, what does resilience coaching look like? What's happening in resilience coaching? I know what leadership coaching looks like. I know what health coaching looks like, or even wellness coaching maybe, but what does what differentiates resilience coaching from other forms of the coaching discipline?
Yeah, so for me, I interchange so I'm the resilience coach, but actually I'm a leadership coach. So this framework you can apply to yourself personally, you can apply it to leadership, you can apply it to teams, and actually I'm toying around playing with you can actually apply it to organizations as well. Okay,
I'm going to ask you about that in a minute too. So good. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So 7 aspects to the resilience wheel, and I must attribute, it's a build upon all free work from Robertson Cooper. I did, research, put it into the world. So I've just added to it. So if anybody asks me the question, so Russell, how do I build my resilience? I go, there's this wheel, 7 aspects to it. And I want you to engage with it and reflect upon it. So heart of resilience is our attitude. Resilient people have a purpose, positively affect 100,000 people. The word confidence is in there. The word adaptability is in there. Cultivating the best, fabulous support network is in there. And there's one as well, which I've added, which is about meaning, which is our internal storytelling. What is the meaning that we are attaching to events? How are we describing our experiences? Because each description that we give is an opportunity to put a belief system and a muscle memory inside ourselves about who we are and our value system. And the final one is this word energy, which is in relation to strengths, a psychometric called StrengthsCope. I think you're familiar with StrengthsFinder in the US. So, and when you play to your strengths, it builds natural resilience and natural confidence. And if I might just circle back to something else I mentioned a little bit earlier on, I said on that strengths thing, if research shows that an individual that may have had a challenging upbringing, so a child has had difficult circumstances, if an individual, a friend, some form of adult guardian in their lives spots that there's something that they enjoy doing and finds a way to find many opportunities to do this thing that they enjoy doing, even in difficult, challenging life circumstances, then they actually build and grow, then develop their resilience because they have been given opportunities to do this thing that they love doing. So playing to your strengths builds natural resilience and natural confidence. So one of the dimensions of resilience is being confident. So the resilience coaching is we do the psychometric, and we discuss your resilience wheel, essentially. What are you doing to, enable your confidence? What are you doing to be more open to change? And also the nuance between adaptability and agility as well. Adaptable, open to change, but not necessarily doing it. Agile, making quick decisions to actually do it. So you work on your adaptability, you improve your agility. And one final thing, some research as well from Jenny Campbell at the Resilience Engine. I don't know her, but this is her research. She has researched that those individuals that choose to spend a third of their time engaging with their adaptability, they move into thrive. So resilience coaching is, these are all the things that we look at, and we keep growing and developing and nurturing your resilience wheel. And as a consequence, you face into life, springing forward with learning, enjoying it a lot more.
I love that it's research-based. You said something a moment ago when you were talking about meaning that reminded me of something. You might have told me this, or I read it on your website or something, that it came from you. I think that it's not the experiences, even the negative ones, that have the greatest impact. It's our relationship with those experiences. It's the meaning we make of them and the learning that we get from them. I think you used the word learning somewhere. I don't know where I read this, but I'm pretty sure it was you. And what it reminded me of is our last episode I mentioned was Scott Mounts, who's the author of the Mentally Strong Leader. And he said the same thing about doubt, that it's not doubt that, confidence is not the absence of doubt. It's our relationship with doubt that gets us. Yeah. And so, and then the third thing in the last, I would say 6 months that I've come across is stress. There's new research on stress, fairly new research on stress. We've all heard that stress is a killer, right? It has all kinds of bad physical things. It causes heart this and all these things, high blood pressure. The newer research says it's not the stress that's doing it. It's the way we think about stress. It's our relationship with stress that does this. And I think I'm really seeing this now for the third time, probably in 6 months. You're the third person to bring to me a reminder that how we view the things in our lives, doubt, stress, trauma, disappointment, name the negative experience. It's how we view the meaning and our relationship and our navigation of it, that is what's critical. And I think you're saying that's what resilience is. That's exactly what it is. The ability to do that.
It absolutely is, because that's where your reflections are. So it's getting to the habit of the age-old question. We get asked loads, how are you? How's your day? How's your week? How's your project going? How's the weekend going? And we give it some answers. We tell some answers. And each one of those external verbalizations, we're also telling our brain what to think and feel and believe about ourselves, our identity, our humanity, our skill sets, and who we are. So it's just being open about and noticing how you're responding and how you're answering those, and then going, how helpful was it for me to describe this day in this particular way? But to reframe it, excuse me, you can't just tell yourself some lies. Okay, so if you've had a pretty awful day and you go, I've got to reframe it now, go, right, it was brilliant. It's like, no, that's not going to work.
I learned all kinds of ways to fail today.
Yes. So around all of this as well, it's also, I enjoy talking about the word optimism as a route to feeling positive. Okay, so optimism's grounded in reality. So we have to be real about actually what's going on. So if it's like the reality is these were the challenges that were faced, and actually this is how I'm thinking and feeling, these are my worries and concerns, hold those well. It's about doing that for yourself and also doing that with a team in a way that doesn't turn into a spiral of negativity. Okay, it's holding it well. But also what's grounded in reality are your qualities, your skill sets, your strengths, your current levels of resilience, your behaviors, your mindset, your attitude. That's your current reality. And when you can actually talk a little bit more about actually the useful, helpful, good stuff, the reality of that, people then turn around and go, do you know what? I'm feeling hopeful. Actually, I'm feeling positive. Actually, the size of the scale is the same, of the problem is the same, but how I feel about and believe I'm going to face into it. So a question I ask all my clients and the teams is, you've talked to me about what's going on, and I go, how optimistic are you feeling? And depending on their answer is where we go next, essentially.
That's good. And so people can't, you described the 7 elements of the wheel. The visual of that is that the attitude, the resilience attitude, is in the middle of the wheel. It's the hub.
It's the heart.
So it's connected to all of the other 6: purpose, confidence, adaptability, support, meaning, and energy. And that's what you're talking about. It's the attitude is the center of it all. Is our approach to it.
And for me, they're all interconnected. You know, when you engage with one, it has a knock-on positive benefit on another, essentially.
Yeah, and it's not linear.
No.
Yeah.
No. When were human beings linear, Patrick? When did that happen?
Well, we tend to want to make everything linear because we can get that. Like we make reference out of linear things. I do this in strategic planning all the time. You got these linear pillars, or you got the cycles of coaching, or you've got, and they're not linear. They're interrelated, I think was the word. Good word. So you mentioned individuals and teams, and that's how you promote your work. Beyond being resilient themselves, how do leaders build resilient organizations? This resilience wheel these are things we can control individually, right? I can find meaning and purpose. I have some control over my confidence and adaptability and all that. But when I'm leading an organization, how do I inculcate these characteristics and attitude into an entire organization? Because I can tell you, our listeners to this show right now, that's what they're dealing with. And they're not dealing with it so much right now in a proactive way. Here in the United States, you may or may not be aware, the nonprofit sector here, a third of the revenue of the nonprofit sector in the U.S. is federally funded by our government. And our current presidential administration is making some pretty severe cuts to where the federal government funds the nonprofit sector. So it's got the sector scrambling here. And much like COVID did, it's a similar feeling in this sector. I think it affects other sectors as well, but it really is hitting our social sector really strongly. And so when we went through COVID, everyone talked about resilience differently. It was a how do we bounce back? Or for the really healthy ones, it was how do we spring forward? For the really healthy ones, they weathered the storm of COVID because they had been behaving in a resilient manner according to your model. But right now, I think everyone listening would say, how do I create a resilient organization? And what are the similarities?
So it's still, to start with, it is about the humans. Okay. So this is less about withstanding, cyber attacks, resilient systems and processes. So I'm out there a lot of the time, poking a few bears going, so resilient people equals a resilient organization? Question mark. Who wants to come and discuss that with me? And that is where a lot of the answer is to this. Now you can turn up to an organization and go, how optimistic is your organization? You can ask that question of a senior leadership team or any set of people, and their response will be absolutely intertwined with their current mental picture of like how all the humans are behaving and thinking and feeling and what they're saying and what they're doing. You'd be able to do a bit of a finger in the air and a blueprint and go, oh yeah, they're doing this. How optimistic is your organization? So it is, to start with, it is about taking all of the humans in your organization and go, so what's our organizational purpose? And I don't mean necessarily about meeting the KPIs. Okay, it's actually, and it's not about vision, mission, and values. It's actually all these humans in this organization. What's our purpose? And isn't it actually to enable all of us to be at our best? And so that's what we're thinking about around this. And it's like, what's the attitude of the organization? How supportive are we of each other? And how are we enabling ourselves to have optimistic, emotionally intelligent conversations? And is everybody in our organization, when they come in and do their job role, are they playing to their strengths? So that's a starting point. From a leadership point of view, when I engage with leaders, one of the things I try and do, because I sort of say their heads are full and they don't know what to do, and I just say, right, you're only responsible for 3 things as a leader. And they go, really? I go, yeah, literally just 3. I go, what are they? Okay. I go, delegate brilliantly to people's strengths, remove the blockages to your people performing, and develop, grow, and build resilient teams. You are responsible for 3 things. So if you look at all of the meetings and the things that you've got in front of you and all of the activities that you're doing day to day, if there's something in your diary which doesn't meet one of those 3 things, it shouldn't be there. Now, to implement that is way easier said than done. I can sit here and go, that's what you need to do. But actually, when you start to do that, the whole mindset and attitude of the humans in the organization shifts, so that organizationally, with systems, instructions, and processes, because it's the humans that create them, they start to shift and change as well. That's my short answer.
Oh, it's and as you're talking, I'm looking back over the wheel.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely, all you have to do is just think of these terms at a systemic or organizational construct. What's the purpose of the organization? Why are you here, and who do you serve? What's the value you're creating? Is the organization a confident organization? Does it, the board and the staff, do you have a history of success that you lean on and know? And adaptability. Oh my goodness. Organizational adaptability. That's a thing. I do have a question for you. Yeah. Give us a little more the difference between purpose and meaning, because I think as people look at those two things, they can sound very similar. Talk about those two again.
Yeah. So, and I do keep thinking about maybe tweaking this, but then it's like, I've got to go through every bit of branding and changing the word. So this is our internal storytelling. So, and help me out here, and then everybody's listening if there's a better way of saying it. So it's the meaning that we are attaching to our things that happen to us, life events. So it's like, I've added some meaning to this situation. So it's, what's the meaning that you've added? Because how are you describing it? How are you thinking and feeling about it? In that moment in time, that is your meaning. It's not the meaning of life type thing. The purpose is, what am I here for, essentially.
Okay. Yep.
Does that help?
It does. And my only reaction to it, it definitely differentiates the meaning that we attach to the event, whatever that event is, right? The only thing is that I'm curious now as to how that stretches into forward thinking. Because the meaning we're attaching to the event that's happening to us is back to reactionary mode. Whereas your model is your concept of resilience is a proactive one. And so, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. How do we attach meaning? Maybe, is there a way to attach meaning to the concept of challenging environments, not just a specific event that's happening to us in the moment? I don't know. Is my question even make sense?
No. So what I'm thinking about, I'll go to the other question. I'm not sure what that second one was.
I don't either.
I'm going to reframing. Okay. So once again, it's about the learning. So when we've answered the question, how was your day? If you say, well, it started out at 7 a.m. Then I got in a car and it went downhill and everything was awful. And I went to these meetings and nobody listened to me. And I think I'm a waste of time. And I don't know why I'm being there. You've literally just told your brain you're a worthless waste of space. Okay. So step one is to notice how you've answered it. Step two is to go, right, could I just pause for a moment and reflect on just how truthful that really is? And then I might go, do you know what? I'm going to get some perspective, because resilient people are doing it in perspective. Then I might suddenly go, actually, do you know what? I passed Patrick in the corridor and he went, Russell, you're all right. And I went, Patrick noticed that I was looking back. Right. Okay. My day wasn't that awful. And do you know what? I've just remembered that I went to the meeting after Patrick and somebody actually listened to me. Oh, okay. So my day wasn't as awful as I thought it was. You get perspective on the day. So you reframe and you learn about the response, the meanings that you're attaching, and you attach more helpful meanings to that day.
That is very helpful to my question, because now what you're doing is you're conditioning yourself to learn how to attach meaning. And that is what prepares you for future things you don't even know are coming.
Yeah.
So good. I love the clarity that you bring to this. This is really good. We could take another 3 hours and unpack this, as I know, but then we'd have to start charging people for it, right?
Well, indeed.
I really do appreciate this, Russell, and I want to encourage people again to go and and check out the different tools and things that you have, including the resilience wheel and the different ways that you can help people. The resiliencecoach.co.uk is the website. Russell, I like to ask all my guests a couple of questions, and I just love the answers and the stories I get. They're always inspiring. And so I'd like to ask them to you. The first one that I have for you is, who comes to mind as a leader in your life who you would say has had profound influence on your leadership and your view of leadership, and why? And this can be someone that you've never even met, or it can be, a close relative or whoever it is, but who immediately comes to mind and why?
So it is my wife, essentially. She is an incredibly values-driven individual, phenomenally passionate. She's a teacher. She's incredibly, she believes in fairness and justice. She can't stand injustice. And over the decades, she's taught me to be a better human being. So that's the profoundness about it.
Wow.
The additional bit while she comes up is, in the last couple of years, she has become exceptionally unwell and I have been her carer. But how she has managed to navigate through that, I also admire her for. So it's my wife.
Boy, it sounds like she's inspired this model a lot.
She has.
That we've talked about. Yeah. Wow, that's tremendous. Our best to her. It's very inspirational. The last question I'll ask you as we wrap the show, if you are on the top of a mountain with a megaphone and all the leaders of the world are at the bottom of the mountain listening to what you're about to say, and you've got 15 seconds to tell the world of leaders the most important thing to keep in mind about leadership, what is the Russell Harvey 15-second soundbite on leadership?
So I've said it already. It's like you're only responsible for 3 things. Delegate brilliantly, remove the blockages to your people performing, and make the decision and choice to build and grow and develop a resilient team. 3 things. That's what you're there for, all day, every day.
Brilliant. It's one of the things we try to do in our organization is simplify the complex, and you just did it masterfully. I want to say again, I just love the fact that resilience is a choice. I want to just end on that note. Russell, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope you'll reach out to Russell, learn more about what he's doing, and we'll see you in here next time on the Leadership Window. Lead on.